How's it going here? Welcome back to another camera comparison video. Today we got the Xiaomi Mi 10 Ultra and the Google Pixel 5. Now both these phones take different approaches to smartphone cameras. You've got the Mi 10 Ultra, which does it primarily through hardware, and the Pixel 5, which does it primarily through software, but both result in some really nice photos and videos. The Pixel 5 is widely known as probably the best point-and-shoot smartphone camera, at least for photos, and it's doing it through mostly software technology and Google's HDR Plus processing with some pretty average camera hardware. And the Mi 10 Ultra is doing it mostly through its 108 megapixel sensor, its periscope zoom lens, and really large ultra-wide angle lens with some pretty good Xiaomi image processing, which has been improving over the years. And so which will win out in this one, we're going to find out, because the Xiaomi Mi 10 Ultra actually went toe-to-toe with the S21 Ultra, and we all know what the results that the Pixel 5 produces. So I think this will be a very good comparison, especially for folks who like more natural-looking, true-to-life photos and videos. I think both these phones produce that. So go ahead and take a look at the photos and videos. I've got a bunch in both good and low light conditions to help you decide which of these two camera systems might be best for you. And for those who are price conscious, they're both about the same price. The Mi 10 Ultra retailed for about $700. You can import one for max maybe around $800. And the Pixel 5 was, I think, retails for about $700, and of course you can find some deals. So even with price, they're about maybe in the same price category as well. So take a look at the photos and videos and let me know which one you prefer.
That sound, I got that heat, let's go.
Hi friends, so here's a rear-facing video on the Mi 10 Ultra and the Google Pixel 5. This is the ultra-wide-angle lens on each at 4K 30 frames per second. So I'll pan around to give you a feel for what these ultra-wide-angle lenses look like and how they compare. The Mi 10 Ultra has that wider field of view, but do pay attention to the color reproduction as well. There's a lot of greens here, and as I pan back up, you can see the blue sky and how both of these cameras readjust and expose for that. The Mi 10 Ultra has a little bit tougher time with that than the Google Pixel 5 does. But again, this is the ultra-wide-angle lens here. And here are the main wide-angle lens on each. And so I'll pan around to give you a feel for what that looks like here on each of the phones. And again, both of them are doing a pretty good job with these trees here, which tend to have a little bit more of the shadow look to them. So they're both uplifting the shadows out of those trees. And you can see the blue skies and everything else here. I'll pan around. One more time, I'll point down. I'll come back up into the sky so you can see how they readjust for that blue sky. There we go. I'll go ahead and pan over here to the right, and we'll test zoom out on that cell tower there. So we got 2x digital there on the Pixel 5, and let's move into 2x digital here on the Xiaomi Mi 10 Ultra. And I can slowly pan all the way into a max 6x digital zoom there on the Mi 10 Ultra, and a 5x digital zoom there on the Pixel 5. The Pixel looks a little bit clearer than the Xiaomi does here at this zoom range. I'll back this one out to 5x to match the Pixel here, just to see. And the Pixel still does look like it has a clearer picture at the same 5x digital zoom. So let's back both of these out. And we'll test autofocus here on the post, first with the Mi 10 Ultra. There we go. So pretty quick autofocus there, and refocus away. Really nice shallow depth of field. You got that background blur going with a good subject separation there. Now on the Pixel 5, quick autofocus as well, and refocus away. Not as much of a background blur, not as much natural bokeh there as the Mi 10 Ultra, because the 10 Ultra obviously has that larger sensor. And we'll test stabilization here in 4K as we walk down the stairs and through this path to give a feel for what the stabilization looks like here on each of the phones. And I'll pull up here and I'll pan up into the trees and into the sky so you can see how the cameras adjust for that changing light. Hi friends, so here's some front-facing video from the Mi 10 Ultra and Google Pixel 5. This is being recorded at 1080p, 30 frames per second, which is the max resolution and frame rate on each right now. Obviously I'm starting this outdoors in some fairly even lighting here in the shade, so you can see what these front-facing cameras look like here in some fairly optimal lighting conditions in this setting. And I'll start panning around so you can see what that does to the video quality here as the lighting conditions change. The sun will now be in back of me, so you can see what that does to the overall video quality. It's going to blow out that background as it tries to expose for me. And as I keep panning around, the sun will come back in front of me and you'll start to see the background re-expose and adjust pretty well right there. So I'll start walking to that stabilization as well so you can see what that looks like here on each of these front-facing cameras. And so hopefully this gives you a better idea of how the video quality looks like here on the Mi 10 Ultra and Pixel 5 front-facing cameras. friends, so here's some low light video from the rear facing cameras on the Mi 10 Ultra and Pixel 5. This is the ultra wide angle lens on each at 4K 30 frames per second. So I'll just pan around so you can get a feel for what these ultra wide angle cameras look like here in this setting. You can see that really bright street light right there. They're both actually handling that very well, not really flaring them out too bad. Also pay attention to those trees up there above the rooftops there. There's some trees in the skyline that you probably can't see on the camera right now, but I'm going to switch over to the main lens and you'll see the difference. So here you go with the main wide angle lens now, and as you can see, it's much brighter than the ultra wide angle lens, and you can now make out some definition in those trees, more so on the Mi 10 Ultra than on the Pixel 5. But they don't blend into the skyline as much because this main camera is brighter. It's trying to lift up the shadows and trying to give you more definition in pretty much everything in the picture. So you can actually make out that tree line a little bit better now, and we'll pan over here to the right, and you're going to see the really bright street light is being flared out a lot more than it was with the ultra wide angle lens, more so on the Mi 10 Ultra right now. And of course you can see those trees over there next to the light a little bit better. But everything is just overall brighter with this main wide angle lens, which is pretty typical of most camera phones. And we'll start walking this way to test out the stabilization, as well as to see how these cameras do in a bit darker setting. So obviously that was pretty well lit, a good amount of light. So you can see what it looks like in a decently optimal lighting condition. And now you're going to see how they perform in a much darker setting here. And already both of these phones are brightening up the scene a lot more than it really is. It's quite dark out here right now. And at least in the viewfinder, the Mi 10 Ultra is actually a little bit brighter than the Pixel 5 is. But both are definitely brighter than what I'm seeing with my own eyes at this point. Especially right now, it's pretty dark out here. You just have these lights here on the walkway. I'll pan up into the sky, and you're going to see some noise on each of these cameras because they are brightening up everything a little bit more than what I am seeing. Even though the sky here isn't completely pitch black, we've got some light pollution as we'll pan over this way. So you can see what it kind of looks like in a more intermediate setting with not completely dark, but with a little bit more light here. And again, still brighter than what I'm seeing with my own eyes, but that gives you a feel for what each of these main wide angle cameras look like here in low light at 4K. So here's some low light video from the front facing cameras. This is being shot at 1080p 30 frames per second full HD, which is the max resolution and frame rate of both of these front facing cameras. And so obviously I'm outdoors in some pretty optimal lighting here because I want to start out with some conditions that are going to give these front facing cameras the best possible chance to show you the best possible footage you're going to have in any kind of a low light scenario. So I'll pan over here to the right and to the left so you can kind of see how they're handling all the bright lights around me. And we'll start walking to also test stabilization, which tends to be a little bit more choppy in low light, so pay attention to that. But hopefully this gives an idea of what these front-facing cameras can look like in different lighting conditions here, as well as what their stabilization is like. And I'll start approaching a fountain to my right, so we can test out the microphones as well to see how well they're able to cancel that sound out or not. And we'll stop here and turn around so you can kind of see the really bright lights behind me right now. So both of the front-facing cameras are actually handling those really bright street lights pretty well. Other cameras will flare them out a lot more than that. So let me move back over here where it's a little bit darker so you get a direct comparison against these cameras in this more difficult lighting condition here. But hopefully you enjoyed all the photos and videos from the Mi 10 Ultra and the Pixel 5. Let me know in the comments which one you thought did better. Do you think the hardware on the Mi 10 Ultra was able to kind of outpace and outdo the Pixel 5's software magic here? Or do you think the Pixel 5 is still the king of still photos, maybe even a video against the Mi 10 Ultra? But let me know which one you thought did better for what purpose. And any other questions or comments, also leave them down below and I'll try to answer what I can, and let's continue our conversation down there. And as always, thanks for watching.